Hi everybody, let's talk about the Todaro model. So the Todaro model is quite complex and you don't really need to go too in depth. You just need to understand the basic concepts. There is a diagram which you can draw, you can remember if you want, but it's not really necessary. All that's necessary is this steps part, just the wording part. So we can put it on a diagram to visualize it better. So the red part is the demand curve for jobs in rural areas demanded by companies. Whereas the blue one is the demand curve for jobs in urban areas. So at this wage rate over here, this much would be demanded by the companies. This much jobs is available at this wage rate, and same for the urban area. At this wage rate, this many jobs are available for people. So in a perfectly competitive market, a labor market where your rural and urban areas there's no regulations or anything, they should, in theory, be at equilibrium, and the wage rates are the same. So you have wage star for U and wage star for R. And therefore, your labor force is in equilibrium. There's the same amount of people working in urban areas, same amount of people working in rural areas. However, in reality, the urban wage rate is pushed up artificially to the W line U, so over here. This is because you have trade unions that partake in strikes, bargaining, collective bargaining, picketing as well. Also, you have minimum wage laws that are actually enforced in urban areas. So therefore, your wages are also pushed up higher than your equilibrium wage. And this decreases your number of jobs available to LU star, which leads to unemployment, as you can see here. So some people might want to not be unemployed, so they'll be at this rural wage rate over here. So you have line U. And in a world where there is no unemployment at all, you have this many people working in urban areas at this wage rate and this many people working in rural areas at this wage rate. However, this wage difference from line U and this should be line R to line U creates a perception of higher wages, right? So when you're working in rural areas, why should you accept lower wages than urban wages when you can just simply migrate and obtain that higher wage? So this is the thinking behind a lot of migrants, economic migrants, which leads to migration with this line like this. So you have a point over here at a higher wage as 2 stars and a labor force of R, 2 stars as well. And this is your new rural labor force. And as you can see here, this migration from over here to this much, so this many people have moved from urban areas to rural areas to urban areas. This causes your rural labor force to shrink from here to over here. And with less people, humans are needed resources, especially in rural areas, and therefore your wages gets pushed up from this line R to double star R, and your rural people are happy, your wages are starting to increase. Whereas your urban labor force, it enlarges from this much to this much. So this is your urban labor force. And it's significantly large, but the wages, in theory, they should decrease, but again, they are artificially pushed up. They are kept high. In economics term, we call it sticky downwards. They don't fall down even if you have a larger labor force, because you have employment contracts that are still working. You have minimum wage laws. Maybe this is minimum wage. You have trade unions that will riot, will strike if their wages ever decrease. So your wages are stuck here, and this many jobs are available, but this is your labor force, and therefore you get unemployment with this much. However, your rural people still migrate. So even at this point, they will still migrate until there is an equilibrium over here, where your wage rates are the same. But they will still migrate to urban areas because of the perception that they will get higher wages. They don't mind the short-term unemployment. They will tolerate the short-term unemployment because they perceive future prospects of higher wages. So they suffer the short-term issues, financial issues and stuff to hopefully get the jobs, but that leads to unemployment. So that sums up the Todaro model. This is the thinking behind the migrants. So when they're of working age, they will migrate to the urban areas, and they will suffer unemployment, they will lose money, they go in debt in the short term, but in the long term, they will get a job over here, and then they will get higher wages than if they were in rural areas. So this sums up the Todaro model. You don't have to know the diagram and stuff, it is really complex. Just these simple concepts in words, and then you get top marks in your exams if you explain the Todaro model. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.